Origen of Alexandria, the great biblical scholar who lived in the late 2nd century after Christ. This video will examine Origen's commentary on the money changer's coinage in the temple when Jesus cleansed the temple in Jerusalem. On the screen is now shown two accounts of the cleansing of the temple. The first is recorded in the Gospel of St. John and the second in the Gospel of St. Mark. Please use the pause button as required. In his commentary on the cleansing of the temple in chapter 2 of St. John's Gospel, Origen of Alexandria made several important references which appear to indicate the precise form of coinage that the money changers were offering in the Temple of Jerusalem in the time of Jesus. Such references are among the strongest source of evidence from the writings of the early church fathers, pointing to the fact that the money changers' coinage was merely that of base or copper metal, and of therefore possessing only token value. This point is hugely significant and, if true, has an important bearing as to how we are to understand what was taking place in the Temple of Jerusalem and ultimately the reason for Jesus' actions in the holy place. It is also vitally important for Christians today seeking to apply the teachings of Jesus to our own times, so largely governed in the commercial field by the use of token money. For it is proposed, on the basis of Origen's writings, which will be shown at the end of this video, that when Jesus accused the temple authorities with the words, "Is it not written, 'My house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations,' but you have made it a den of robbers," the theft he was primarily referring to was not so much from the pilgrim Jew by way of inflated animal prices or dishonest trade, but rather from the treasury into which the pilgrims deposited their offerings. The treasury, the domain of God, was being stolen from. The revenue that God was to receive in the treasury, particularly from the payment of the annual half-shekel temple tax, was greatly, if not totally, depleted. This theft was accomplished by the subtle manner in which the money changer was introduced into the temple, and in particular through the precise form of coinage he was offering in exchange there. This coinage was merely, as Origen states, one of token value. It contained nothing of the precious metal content, that is silver and gold, such as was normal and intrinsic to all other coinage at that time. It was this token or base coinage that was deposited in the treasury. The coins of real value that the pilgrim had brought into the temple, most probably the Tyrian coinage stipulated in the Talmud, or even the Roman denarii or Greek staters, common at that time, remained behind on the money changers' tables. Resting on the money changers' tables and not being deposited in the treasury, this coinage could be spent at the discretion of the temple authorities, for it was no longer strictly korban or dedicated to God. In addition to this theft from the treasury of the temple that had entered the holy place, the introduction of the money changer's token exchange also offered easy and readily available credit to those who came to sacrifice in the temple. Jesus, it is proposed, did not approve of the explosion of trade that developed in the temple because of this easy availability of credit, a source of credit hitherto unknown in the Greco-Roman world. Of course, this new money created in the temple, what might be termed fiat money, or a program of quantitative easing in the temple, would only have been used within the temple, for it would not have been accepted in everyday exchange outside. Quite simply, it would have been seen as false or counterfeit money, money which possessed no value. So much more should be said on this subject, in particular how Origen's commentary on the coins of the money changers appears also to have a vital bearing on several other gospel passages linked to the cleansing of the temple. But this would be too much for us now. We will simply finish, therefore, by providing on the screen excerpts from Origen's writings on this subject. The excerpts provided are taken from Origen's commentary on St. John's Gospel and are given, as mentioned above, as evidence for the claim that the money changer's coinage which was offered in exchange in the temple was merely that of base or token, that is, copper value. Please use the pause button as required. The English translation of Origen's commentary, for his commentary was originally written in Greek and then translated into Latin, will be followed by some further commentary and explanation of terms used where important observations are highlighted. Again, please use the pause button as required. The first excerpt and some comments. The second excerpt and a comment. The third excerpt and a comment. And finally, a fourth important reference from Origen's writings.